Okay, so welcome everyone. Like I just said, my name is Samantha Bowers. I am the consultant for continuing education here at the State Library of Iowa. I am not joined today by Angie Manfredi, who is road tripping her way down to New Mexico. So you can join me in sending a virtual hug and congrats to her and her husband for undertaking a road trip this week and part of next. But you can still contact her by email if you need to. I am joined today by Stephanie Dross from the Department of Education, and we are talking today about summer food programming and collaboration at your library. Let me walk us through a couple housekeeping things before we get started officially. So as you're coming into this space, you do not have a microphone or a camera, but you will be able to hear Stephanie, and you can see me now, hopefully. You can use the chat down at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a computer, desktop or laptop, you should have the option for chat. Change the drop down to all panelists and attendees. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, then everyone can see them. If you have a tech problem, you can send a chat to me directly, and I'm happy to help. My next couple housekeeping items, which most of you know, I'm going to be scrolling through that participants list as we go today. I know in the webinar space, you can't see what you've signed in as, but when you entered the room, it probably asked for your name and email. If you did not type your actual name into that space, then I don't know who you are. So if you get a chat from me, Samantha Bowers, saying, hey, what's your first and last name? Feel free to chat that back to me directly. And you can, and I'll update your name so that as we take attendance. What our process is that we grab the participants list from Zoom here, we tell Iowa Learns who was there, and then we shoot you a note saying, hey, time to go complete your evaluation. Then you have 30 days to get that done. Second to last thing to note, we rely on IMLS funding. And then the last thing I want to say, which is brand new for this webinar, is we have enabled auto captions. So if you drive down towards the bottom of your screen, you should have a little button that says CC Live Transcript. If you click once on that and then click Show Subtitle, you'll be able to turn those captions on and off. They are not perfect. They have no idea who Angie Manfredi is. Yeah, I'm just going to keep saying that. Manfredi. Anyway, we can laugh about that later with Angie. But if you're on mobile, those are going to be on for you because they're on for me. And so I'm trying to kind of troubleshoot how we can switch between mobile and desktop a little better. But if you're on the desktop or a laptop, you do have the option to turn them on or off. So long story short, I'll bug you if I don't know your name. Turn the captions on and off, and thank you IMLS for the funding today. I'm going to share the bio for our presenter today. Stephanie Dross is the lead summer food service program consultant of the Iowa Department of Ed and their Bureau of Nutrition and Health Services. She's a registered dietitian and earned a bachelor's degree in dietetics from Iowa State University. The Hawkeyes in the room will not hold that against her. Stephanie has over 25 years of experience in child nutrition programs, having served as the director of food and nutrition programs at Southeast Polk Community School District prior to joining the Iowa Department of Education. Over the past few years, much of Stephanie's work has entailed the expansion of the summer food service program in Iowa, as well as the training and support of new and returning program sponsors. So Stephanie is going to take us through today how your library can get plugged in to summer food programming, potentials for collaboration, and other things. So Stephanie, I will let you take it away. You should have screen share rights.
Well, thank you very much. Let me go ahead and share my screen, make sure I get that accomplished. Okay, you should now see my screen.
We do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. I actually grew up in a house divided and currently reside in a house divided. So we tend to cheer for many teams in my home, but I am a Cyclone through and through. Thank you again for the invitation to talk about the Summer Food Service Program today. It is certainly a pleasure to be able to provide more information and an introduction to summer food and potential ways that we could partner together going forward. Libraries are site locations that I find very exciting because it's already established as a safe community organization, has a lot of wonderful summer enrichment and literacy activities drawing children in. So it makes for a very ideal location to partner a summer meal or snack. So I'm really excited to get the chance to talk with you more about that today. So the intent of today's webinar is really to provide you, like I said, an introduction to the summer food program. I like to talk a little bit about how hunger affects children. This year, there are a set of USDA waiver flexibilities in place. So I'd like to take some time to address those so that you can see how they might impact you in your community. I like to spend some time defining how we look at site locations and who is eligible based on kind of the normal regular summer requirements. Let you know about your options on meals and snacks that can be served. Talk a little bit about reimbursement for that meal service program. And then just talk through at the end, how to get involved and maybe some of the benefits to participating with the summer program. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on the USDA child nutrition programs. These are programs that are authorized by Congress and are administered at the federal level by the Food and Nutrition Service, which is an agency of the United States Department of Agriculture. The child nutrition programs include the Child and Adult Care Food Program, which primarily works with child care centers and daycare homes, but also works with some adult care centers. It also includes the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program, which is what operates in conjunction with the school year in the school districts. And then specifically today about the Summer Food Service Program. The Iowa Department of Education is the agency at the state level which administers the child nutrition programs here in Iowa. And then we work with a variety of entities. We work with schools, private nonprofit organizations, childcare institutions, and then different units of government to operate these child nutrition programs at the local level. These organizations are ultimately responsible for overseeing program operations. They received a federal reimbursement to cover both the administrative and operating costs of preparing and serving those meals to children in your communities. We know that while learning doesn't end when school lets out, neither does the need for good nutrition. The Summer Food Service Program was created to ensure that children in low-income areas can continue to receive nutritious meals during long school vacations when school was not in session. The Summer Food Service Program was first created as part of a larger pilot program back in 1968. So it's a program that's been around for quite a few years. The Special Food Service Program for Children was created as an amendment to the National School Lunch Act in 1968. And under the umbrella of the Special Food Service Program were two categories, summer and childcare. And then in 1975, the original National School Lunch Act was further amended to establish these two categories as their own separate programs. So they now operate as the Summer Food Service Program and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. I'm a really visual person, and so I like to employ strategies that can really highlight and visually show impact. What I have on the screen right now are some maps that were created by the Iowa School Finance Information Service. And what they did was they mapped out data on school district free and reduced percentages. And like I said, I like to share these because I feel like they really visually help demonstrate the increasing level of need in the state. And the most recent map I have is 2019. So I don't have a 2020 or 2021 map at this point. But within the map itself, the individual divisions that you see are the public school districts in the state. And the darkest blue colors represent a school district that has a free and reduced rate of greater than 40%. So those are going to be the higher need school districts in the state. You can see in the 2002 map, there's about 27 districts which were greater than 40%, whereas the 2016 map shows about 141 public school districts that were greater than 40%. The 2019 map does show a little bit of reduction in those high need areas, however, still identifies a very large need, which was much greater than what we saw back in 2002. So we can tell by looking at these maps that there really is a significant need for support and access to healthy, nutritious meals for a lot of these children and families. Children from families, many families, including low-income families, depend on school meals. And so we know with that food insecurity goes up during the summer months when they lose access to those meals at school. Based on data from 2018-2019 school year, about 208,000 Iowa children were eligible for free and reduced price meals. But when we look at average participation at our summer food service meal sites, that was only averaging about 25,000. Which is only about 12% of that is in need. So about 88% of the more than 208,000 Iowa students who qualify for free reduced meals did not have a meal program to turn to when classes let out for summer. I did not update this data to 2020 data, as 2019 is really more reflective of a regular summer season as compared to 2020. During the public health emergency in the summer of 2020, participation was different. It was operating at a much higher level, just with the extension from the emergency school closures, the flexibilities in place, and a lot of sites that operated during the emergency school closures continue to operate during the summer season. So I wanted to highlight 2019 because it's a little more consistent what we would see in a regular summer season. We have a very large number of summer food service program sites, but we can tell by these statistics that the reach is not far enough to meet needs statewide. So clearly the nutrition needs of a large number of children are not being met in the summer. While school is out, these children also lack the other supports that school offers, including engagement, learning, adult presence, and a safe and temperature-controlled environment. To understand the importance of summer meals, we first have to consider how food insecurity affects children. There are serious and long-term consequences of food insecurity in childhood. The three main types include health and development issues, poor academic performance, and behavioral problems. We know that children who struggle with hunger are sick more often, recover more slowly. They are more likely to experience headaches, stomach aches, colds, ear infections, and fatigue. They are more likely to have iron deficiency, anemia, have asthma, learning difficulties, including delayed cognitive development. We also know that food insecure children have lower math scores, difficulty concentrating, and are more likely to repeat a grade level. They may have delayed brain and cognitive development, reduced school readiness, and reduced learning and educational attainment. Children who regularly do not get enough nutritious food to eat have significantly higher levels of behavioral, emotional, and academic problems. They are more likely to be aggressive, anxious, irritable, and have difficulty getting along with others. So the impacts are pretty considerable for these children. So how do summer meals benefit children? Summer meals have the nutritional benefit to reduce food insecurity and to improve the dietary intake of children, which will ultimately provide a positive impact to their overall health. Summer meals also have a behavioral benefit in improving a child's mood, which can lead to fewer disruptions and fewer absences to activities and to school. Summer meals have an academic benefit as well. Children who are well nourished in the summer return to school ready to learn in the fall. This means they have improved cognitive function, better attention spans, and ultimately higher test scores and academic achievement. Although coming from a food insecure household may be the primary reason why children participate at summer meal sites, it is not the only one. Children have a need for socialization even over the summer months. Participating at summer meal sites typically allows children to interact with friends and other children their age, as well as with adults in a safe environment. Summer meals can also meet the needs of children who have limited skills in food production, allowing them the opportunity to have a nice variety of healthy meals over the course of the summer. Children may also participate because their families do not have the opportunity to grocery shop and fully supply their kitchen pantries, or they may have limited funds for food, and summer adds increased challenges for them. So during the public health emergency, the United States Department of Agriculture has temporarily suspended certain summer food service program requirements kind of through a series of waiver flexibilities, which are intended to help facilitate food distribution within public safety guidelines. These waivers allow all children to continue to receive nutritious meals this summer when schools are out of session, but also ease the administrative burden to program operators. These flexibilities are currently effective through September 30th. I wanted to call your attention to these as they really do impact how summer meals can be provided this summer. And as we kind of go into further slides, I'll touch more on them as we're discussing program specifics, but I also wanted to highlight them here for you. A couple of the really big ones that I wanted to highlight from this slide have to do with the non-congregate waiver. Typically, the summer food service program is considered a congregate meal program. So a site is established where children come, get their meal, they sit and eat and consume that meal at the location before they leave. And meals are not typically provided in a grab and go capacity. With having the non-congregate waiver in place, children are now allowed to pick up a meal and take that meal off site with them. So it's helped facilitated things like grab and go or curbside pickup of meals during this public health emergency. Sponsoring organizations are certainly welcome to do congregate meal programs this coming summer if they feel they have the capacity to do so, but they also then have the option for meals to be taken off site in more of a grab and go capacity. In conjunction with that, USDA also issued a waiver regarding the parent and guardian pickup of meals. What this does is allow for a parent to come to a meal serving site and pick up that meal on behalf of their child in lieu of the child having to be present. So it goes very closely aligns with that non-congregate waiver. The other one that I wanted to point out is the meal service time restriction waiver. Within the summer regulations, there are some rules and requirements about the timing of specific meals. There's a certain amount of time that must elapse from one meal to another. And so what this waiver does, it really allows for flexibility in those service times, and it's allowing for distribution of multiple meals at one time. So a service site could establish a meal time, let's say from 11 to 12 every day, and they might provide a lunch meal, which would be consistent with the timing of that meal. But they could also then partner that lunch meal with a breakfast meal for the next morning. So in lieu of that child having to be on site or come to the site for breakfast, they can take home with them a breakfast meal for that next day. It's also given some flexibility for organizations who want to do multiple days worth of meals at one time. So maybe I have a distribution day on Mondays and a child can come or a parent can come pick up meals for the week. So when they come on Monday, they might get 5 days worth of lunch or 5 days worth of breakfast. So it allows a lot of flexibility on the side of the program operator to really define and establish what programming would work best for them. So under standard kind of ordinary conditions, when the waivers are not in place, SFSP meal sites are locations that serve low income areas where at least half of the children come from families with incomes that are at or below 185% of the federal poverty level, which makes them eligible for free and reduced price school meals. Under the area eligibility waiver, which I have on this slide, more libraries and other communities and community organizations are eligible, as those normal thresholds are not required to be met this year. So the standard free and reduced eligibility threshold is waived for communities that have been impacted by the public health emergency. So it really opens up some additional opportunities for communities to participate that maybe wouldn't have been able to participate in previous years. I have a couple other waiver flexibilities on here. Offer versus serve is really just one that allows a site to offer the meal, but give students or children some opportunity to decline portions of that meal. When we talk about site locations, we'll talk a little bit about closed sites. And so there's a waiver that allows us to use some of the area eligibility data to qualify them. And then the site visit waiver is kind of an administrative requirement of our summer food service program sponsors. When these slides all have quick links to them, so if you had any interest in looking a little bit more closely at each one of those waivers, you'll certainly be able to do that once you get a copy of the slides. So how does the program work? Schools, private nonprofit organizations, and government agencies sponsor the program. Sponsors must be organizations that are fully capable of managing a food service program. They serve children in low-income areas in a normal year and conduct a nonprofit food service. Reimbursement funds are provided by USDA to help cover the cost of that meal service. Serving sites are then established in areas of a high need, and meals are served free to any child 18 and under that comes to that meal site. Library meeting rooms and outdoor areas on library grounds can be great program sites. Libraries have the capacity to incorporate their summer library program and or other fun literacy-based activities at those sites. The program typically operates during school vacations, so primarily in the summer months from May through August. The summer food service program can, however, be activated during emergency school closures, which is what happened last year when the schools closed down due to the pandemic. And USDA has also issued flexibilities to allow for the service of meals during the 2020-2021 school year through the summer food service program. So this program is what is currently being utilized by the vast majority of our school districts to provide free meals to all children this school year. So a site is the physical location where the SFSP meals are served or distributed during a supervised time period. Meal service sites may be located in a variety of settings, including schools, libraries, recreation centers, playgrounds, parks, churches, day camps, housing complexes, etc. There are lots of options and opportunities on where summer meals can be provided. And although there is no requirement for activities to be provided at a summer meal site, we do know that sponsors have ongoing success at sites when they can partner with child-serving organizations and activities. Libraries frequently offer summer enrichment activities and reading programs during the summer months, which partner very well with summer meals and snacks. I didn't mention this earlier, but I've tried to incorporate a variety of snapshots and images of the summer food service program in the slides today. A large number of them do come from Iowa sponsors, so I did try to highlight those organizations with the snapshot, so you can kind of see some of the images of the summer meal program. It is a really important step to identify where children are in the community over those summer months. We know that partnering meals with these locations gives the program the most likelihood of success. So it's critical to kind of know where children are in the summer so that you can kind of bring and partner those meal opportunities with those programming. On this slide, you will see snapshots from a variety of sites across the state, from the Ames Public Library to the Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Rapids to the Chapel Ridge Apartments in Johnston to a park in Sioux City. And as you can see, there really is no one size fits all for a successful program. It can take on a different look in each community, and sponsors really have a great opportunity to make this program their own. So there are different types of sites within the summer food service program. So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk through each one of those sites. There really are three main types. The first type of site is called an open site. If a site is located in a needy area and meals are made available to all children in the area on a first come, first served basis, these sites are considered open sites. The need is determined by area eligibility data, which is either the free and reduced data from a school or its census data. The site must be located in a school attendance area where 50% or more of the children are eligible for free or reduced price meals. And this can be established with data from October's site enrollment reporting or any other subsequent month of the school year that school has submitted claim information for. The Census Bureau began to annually estimate household income using what's called the American Community Survey. And the American Community Survey is an ongoing survey that provides annual estimates based on sampling data. And sites must be located within the boundaries of a census block or a tract that demonstrates 50% free or reduced price meal eligibility. And census data is something that gets updated annually every year in October. If a community does not have area eligibility data, alternative sources can also be utilized to identify pockets of poverty, such as housing authority data or migrant data. As I mentioned previously, during the pandemic, USDA has issued the area eligibility waiver to allow for the service of meals in areas not typically eligible to operate. And this really has opened up a large number of opportunities in communities that were previously not eligible. And in an open site, reimbursement is provided for all meals and snacks served to children. You have the ability to find out if your area is eligible for the Summer Food Service Program by using the USDA Capacity Builder map. This mapper identifies eligible census areas in pink. In addition, this mapping tool identifies other potential site locations. So you can layer in data on churches and libraries, boys and girls clubs, schools. You get to kind of select what layers of information that you want to add to the map. And so at the website, you're going to click on to view the larger map. After the map loads, you can search for your community. Under the layers, you'll want to click on the fiscal year 21 FNS, CACFP, SFSP eligibility, because that's what kind of pulls in the census data for that community. And then you can click on Summer Meal Sites 2020. You can click on libraries to kind of pinpoint locations that have operated or potential locations that could operate going forward. The second type of site is called an enrolled site. An enrolled site is typically located where an identified group of needy children live in a pocket of poverty, or identified low-income children are transported to a site location where less than 50% eligible children are. Or it might be where a program provides recreational, cultural, other enrichment type activities for a specific group of children. These types of sites are only open to identified group of children as opposed to the community as a whole. These types of sites can use the same eligibility data that we utilize for an open site, or they can collect kind of individual income eligibility of the children that are enrolled in the program. And this year, with the area eligibility waiver, all closed programs can be determined eligible to operate based on that waiver. And similar to an open site, reimbursement is provided for all meals or snacks served to children in an enrolled site. The third type of site is a camp, and a camp can be either residential or non-residential day camps that offer a meal service as part of an organized program for children. A camp does not need to establish income eligibility at the 50% level. These sites would collect and maintain eligibility forms or may have shared school eligibility data and receive reimbursement just for those meals that are served to the free and reduced price children in their program. So in a campsite, a program would need to have some alternate funding source to help cover the cost of the meals provided to those paid status students. When participating in the Summer Food Service Program as an open or closed enrolled site, you may choose to offer up to 2 meals or 1 meal and 1 snack per day. When participating as a campsite, you can actually choose to offer up to 3 meals or 2 meals and a snack per day. Depending on your capacity at your site, you may also choose just to offer 1 meal or snack at your site location. It really depends on the type of service that you feel partners best with your program. Like I said before, this is a program that really is locally driven to best meet the needs and capacity that you have. The Summer Food Service Program is typically a congregate meal program where meals are consumed on site. However, this requirement has been waived, as I said previously. So families have the opportunity to also pick up meals in a grab and go capacity. Sponsoring organizations get to choose the days they wish to operate and the times that meals will be served. A sponsor can choose to operate Monday through Sunday and can operate just as soon as the day after school releases for summer and go all the way to the day before school resumes in the fall. And like I said before, there is also the meal service time flexibilities that are in place. So the sponsoring organization has a lot of opportunity to set that meal distribution in a manner that works well, whether it's providing meals on a daily basis providing multiple days worth of meals or more than one type of meal at one time. The summer food service program does have a meal pattern requirement, which is based on 4 food components: milk, vegetables and or fruit, bread, and meat alternate. A summer food service program sponsor may prepare its own meals, may purchase meals through an agreement with an area school, or may contract for meals with a food service management company or vendor. If your site has its own kitchen, you may want to prepare meals for yourself. This might be something that you could logically do if you had a snack service and had limited needs for the type of items that you would need to prepare and store. If your kitchen is not on the site premises, you might still want to prepare your own meals and then transport to that site location. Many government and private nonprofit sponsors do lack kitchen facilities to prepare meals for themselves. And so in that case, they arrange to purchase meals from a school or another food supplier or vendor that has an approved meal prep facility. There's a lot of data on this slide. And so I don't want you to look at it totally in depth, but I wanted to give you a snapshot of the specific portions of each of the food groups so that you could see what was required for each meal or snack. Following these meal patterns really help to ensure that children will receive the nutrients and energy that they require. The meal pattern defines minimum portions that must be offered. So as you see in the chart, you'll note requirements for lunch are that each lunch meal would need to have a cup of milk, 3/4 of a cup of fruits and or vegetables from 2 different sources, a serving of grain, and 2 ounces of meat. Here is a snapshot of the meal reimbursement that will be provided during the summer of 2021. The administrative component of the rate is higher for sponsors of sites located in rural areas and for self-prep sponsors that prepare their own meals. Sponsors do receive the reimbursement on a per meal basis for meals that meet program requirements and are served to children. So really, there are 4 basic ways that you can participate in the summer food service program. First, you could choose to become a sponsor. Make an investment in the children in your community. If your organization already provides services, has capable staff, and good management practices to run a food service, you can administer the summer food service program. Sponsors handle the financial, administrative, and food service responsibilities to run the summer program in an area. Sponsors, like I said, may contract with food service providers and do not have to prepare the food themselves. As a sponsor, you would complete some of the tasks that I have noted on this slide. And if this was something, that you were interested in and felt that you wanted to take lead on the program in your area and become that sponsor, you would contact me to get that process started. And my contact information will be at the end. You also have the option to participate in the summer food service program by running a site. Some organizations do not have the financial or the administrative ability to sponsor the program, but they can certainly supervise a meal service for children, along with providing recreational or enrichment type activities at a site. As I said before, library meeting rooms and outdoor areas on library grounds make for great program sites. Libraries can incorporate their summer reading program and other fun literacy-based activities. If you supervise a site, you will do some of the steps that I have listed out on this slide. I do want to point out that the site responsibilities can vary from sponsor to sponsor, depending on what organization you are working with. As an example, some sponsoring organizations will provide a staff member to assist with the distribution of meals and collecting the meal count for the site. In this scenario, the library's responsibility may lie more with providing a space for meals to be served or distributed. Some sponsoring organizations will deliver meals to a library site, but then the library provides volunteers or staff who assist with the service of the meals and the collection of the meal count. Many libraries choose to participate as a site because it requires less administrative work for that library. If this is something you're interested in, you can utilize the USDA Capacity Builder Mapper to determine if your area is eligible, if there's any other sites operating that you could connect with. Otherwise, you can also certainly reach out to me and I can help make those connections as they're available. And I did share on this slide the number of library sites that we have had in the program over the last 2 years. This is something that has been increasing slowly over the past, I'd say 10 years. We're slowly adding more and more libraries into the program. In 2019, we did have 17 library sites. And during 2020, we saw a pretty big jump with having 28 library sites in the program. And they're all across the state in both urban and rural areas. So they do fill a need all across the state. The third way to participate in summer is to be a vendor or to provide meals to the summer program. And this may not be a logical way for a library to partner with the summer food service program, but there may be other community food service establishments in your area that might be interested in partnering in this way. Organizations that have kitchens and food service staff, including schools, commercial companies, or public or nonprofit institutions, can participate in the summer program as vendors. And these are some of the roles that a vendor would provide. The fourth primary way to get involved with the summer program is really to partner or volunteer with those site locations. If your organization or library cannot take on the responsibility of actually being a sponsor or a site location, you can team up with a sponsor in your area to provide supports to an existing program. This support might include working on the service line or helping monitor kids at the site. It might include providing transportation. It might also look like providing outreach to children and families in your community about the summer meal sites. You can also get involved with providing activities at the site location. We know that having activities as part of the summer food service program really assists with drawing children into those summer meal sites on an ongoing basis and helping to maintain that level of participation throughout the summer. Libraries can really play a valuable role here by providing reading enrichment activities or mobile library services. Library partners can also provide outreach, may do things like book giveaways or just other supports to an existing site. As partner organizations, expanding access to the programs through summer meal outreach is a really important strategy. Even with all of the attempts by local sponsors to promote and outreach their programs, many families still do not know about the existence of these summer meal sites. And so as a library, it's important to consider, what avenues do you have to provide information on summer meal sites to the children and families that you work with. On this slide, I have kind of shown some of the different outreach strategies that are employed, whether it be hanging flyers, displaying summer information on transport vehicles, utilizing electronic signage, at schools or other businesses, or just putting yard signs at different locations. Those are all tremendous strategies to help promote the summer meal sites in a community. In order to maximize participation, we know that it's critical to promote and outreach, and there's a wide variety of promotional materials that are available. I've highlighted some on this slide, showing you some of the different flyers that are available. There's bookmarks available. There are things that can be printed that are more like a business card or could be printed as a magnet to kind of put on someone's refrigerator. These outreach materials can really help refer young patrons to local summer food service sites. Tools for finding sites include the USDA National Hunger Hotline. There's a text-based location service, and there's also the Meals for Kids site finder. Families can also call the United Way 211 helpline to access this information. And I just wanted to give you a heads up. Data on summer meal sites are usually provided to these outreach strategies mid to late May. And so if a family were to attempt to do some outreach on a site location right now, there probably won't be any data for them to have. But by the beginning of June, they'll certainly be able to go out to all of these locations and get site information about the program. So as we kind of think about some of the things that we've talked about with the summer food service program, I wanted to kind of turn it back around to what can libraries actually do to get involved. Are you looking to expand your summer program? Your library is a welcoming and trusted public space for your community's youth. And as a valuable community resource, you can nourish a kid's mind as well as their body. So it's a really good partnership. So ways to consider getting involved, what can a library do? First and foremost, you could connect with a colleague about summer meals and snacks. Libraries across the state have experience with the program and could certainly share insights on their experience with it. I have the list of the site locations that have operated in the past. If you're interested in trying to reach out to talk to someone, you could call or send me an email, and I could let you know some of the libraries in your area of the state who have participated in the program. As a library, you can also spread the word. If there's meal sites in your community, you can help by notifying families, maybe via your summer reading program materials. Perhaps you have bulletin boards or displays within the library. Maybe you have a Facebook page or another type of social media account, or your website can include it. Maybe you can have some printed bookmarks sitting at the circulation desk or flyers that families could see. You can also choose to partner with local sponsors to provide some library enrichment activities or a mobile library service at a summer meal site. Or you can take the step to try to host a meal site at your library. Adding a summer meal or a snack can enhance your existing library programming. Even if your library does not have structured youth programs, providing meals or snacks may attract some new patrons and draw them to other library services that you have available. So offering meals and snacks through the federal child nutrition programs not only allow libraries to become key allies in eliminating childhood hunger and promoting healthy food, but it helps attract children to the library's resources and activities. And FRAC, which is the Food Research and Action Center, created a fact sheet which kind of outlines the benefits for libraries that offer meals and snacks through the federal child nutrition meal programs. They developed this brief after doing some in-depth interviews with the California Summer Meals Coalition, with Feeding America San Diego, and a variety of libraries located in California, Florida, and Washington, D.C. So I wanted to share this with you because I thought it made some really valid points. One of the benefits that was noted was increased circulation and reading program participation. Libraries typically cite an increase in book circulation and a higher number of participants in literacy programs after implementing a meal and snack program. Staff members who are initially hesitant often see how meals can attract more children and even teens to the library and their bookmobiles. They've also noted more visits from adult patrons. Providing meal services allows more parents and caretakers to use the library at meal times, thus leading to an increase in new library cards and library book circulation. There's also the benefit of higher community and public visibility. Summer and after-school meal programs create an opportunity for increased media coverage and to invite local policy leaders to connect with your library. During a time of budget cuts, adding meal programs demonstrates the value added by the library to the community and its need for money, staffing, and longer hours. Meal service also brings a new marketing avenue for libraries to gain community support. We also know that it contributes to mission-driven work. Meals drive both children and teens to utilize library services and cultivates productive learning minds by ensuring healthy bodies. Serving food aids low-income children without internet access who must do homework, fill out applications, and connect with other family members. And I just wanted to highlight that there are lots of community partners that you can work with as you consider ways to provide meals within your community. There are so many child serving organizations and entities that can partner together to really fully develop a program in your community. So everybody wins with the summer food service program. Children have nutritious meals that might not otherwise receive. Parents stretch food dollars and know that their children are receiving healthy meals in a supportive environment. Food service workers and other staff have summer employment, and organizations receive funds to provide meals to complement already scheduled programs such as reading enrichment, day camp, sports activities, and tutoring sessions. And communities ultimately provide safe places for children to go and be with other children and supportive adults. I just added this slide to kind of highlight how to apply or get involved. Here's my contact information. You know, I'll work with you to collect some information on your organization and the strategy that you might wish to implement. I'll help with making contact with local sponsoring organizations. You know, if that's the direction that you want to do, is to work as a site or work in partnership with the local sponsor. If you do choose to want to sponsor the program, then I would go through with you the steps to actually apply. And then I'm always available to answer questions. So that leads to my final slide. Here's my contact information. I'm happy to talk live in person. So I have my phone number or I have my email. If you just want to drop me a quick question, I can respond to that. We do have a little bit of time available this afternoon. So we can also certainly take any questions that you guys might have. And again, I really appreciate your time today because I know everyone's schedules are so very busy that I appreciate you taking some time this afternoon to learn a little bit more about this program.
This is great, Stephanie. Thank you so much. We did have a couple questions come through, and I think this first one is going to be a softball. Can we do snacks or does it have to be a meal?
So
snacks are okay, right?
Yes. So as a local organization, this is really driven by you. Snacks are certainly an option that you could utilize in your program. It does not have to be a breakfast or lunch meal.
At the beginning of your presentation, when you were mentioning the food insecurity numbers, kind of had those graphs up, do the numbers from 2019 or from any year, I suppose, reflect flood impacted areas?
Those numbers would demonstrate that as well. We know that has been a challenge in some of the communities, especially Eastern and even Western Iowa this past summer, but absolutely that is an impact. We know that there's a wide variety of reasons why children do not come to meal sites. Some of it's stigma, some of it's difficulty with access, getting to and from home to those meal sites, and some of it's just not having meal sites in those locations. So whenever a community is challenged with things like flooding or the derecho or any kind of natural disaster, that just kind of adds one additional layer to a challenge a family has to access meals.
Absolutely. I think you touched on this a little bit as well, but just to reiterate, can you give some examples of food providers besides schools?
So in addition to schools, we have also seen a variety of other food service entities. We've seen local hospitals get involved with being a vendor. Local grocery stores have also provided catering and or vendor services. Another potential entity are those that are providing meals for either a congregate, an adult, like a senior congregate meal center, or even Meals on Wheels. They have food establishments with licenses, are used to following meal patterns and meal plans. And I honestly have had some restaurants in local communities that have stepped up to partner with some private nonprofits. So schools, hospitals, grocery stores, a local caterer, a congregate meal or Meals on Wheels provider would also be good alternatives.
Yeah, whatever you've got in your community, it sounds like you don't have to have a one size fits all solution.
I will tell you, schools have maybe an easier transition as a vendor because they are familiar with the child nutrition programs. They're familiar with the meal patterns, but it doesn't mean they're the only ones that can. We certainly can work with other vendors to try to teach them what those meal pattern requirements are.
Absolutely. There's a question here, and I don't have the context, so whoever posted it may have to correct me if I ask it incorrectly. But when we're talking about children enrolled, does that mean kids specifically in the free and reduced lunch program at a school, or do kids enroll in this summer food program specifically?
So when you look at a big picture of how a site might operate, sites either operate kind of in an open capacity where it's you identify the site and the time and everyone's invited to come participate. Closed enrolled is looking more at not opening up a meal program to the general community, but really providing it to kids that have signed up, registered, kind of enrolled to participate in a specific activity. And so you might be partnering meals with just that group of enrolled or registered kids instead of in that open concept where community children are all invited as well.
Gotcha.
It doesn't have to be that they're all free and reduced eligible. They're just registered to participate in your program and attending your program.
And in our last couple of minutes here, there's a question posted about sort of the pandemic and how it has impacted the services provided. Will the government be having schools offer meals this summer because of the pandemic? Is that something they did that last year, I think?
So the flexibilities that really have been opened up and extended into this summer season really do open up the capacity for schools to continue beyond the school year operation of the program. And last year, we saw a very large number choose to continue that service into the summer months. So we would anticipate that a larger number would go forward this coming summer as well. Just to give you an example, in the summer of 2019, we had about 184 sponsoring organizations. I'd say at least 3/4 of those are probably school districts. But then last year in the summer of 2020, we actually had as a whole 402 sponsors. And so you can see that we had a dramatic increase And like I said, many of those did choose to continue into that summer season. So we do expect that. But we also know that schools have been very challenged this year to kind of pivot and recreate their programs as the year has gone along. So there's a lot of concerns with staff fatigue, staff being stretched very thin. And so we are always looking for and encouraging other community organizations to be able to kind of step up and help support and fill in the gaps when a school isn't able to do so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stephanie, so much for your time here today. And thank you everyone for coming.